Thank you, General Dua, and to the hosts for having me here. Pakistan is something which has been a part of my psyche since my days in the army. This is being held in Pune, and I was commissioned in Pune in 1963 as from a technical corps, being an engineer. Uh, I faced them up in 65. Uh, they were well armed, well disciplined, and I've always regarded the Pakistan military as a disciplined source functioning under a change of command. Never underestimate them is one bit of thing I learned. They have lots of choices, lots of crowds. If you talk to a person like General Asad Durrani, it would be quite different from what people who are otherwise ISI chiefs talk. So you're dealing with a diverse population, and please believe me, the hatred for India is predominantly Punjabi. You have political space in the frontier where there are serious difficulties. The rise of the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, the calling into question of the Durand Line is a factor we have to bear in mind and take advantage of. Because not even the Taliban will concede the Durand Line to the Pakistanis. So one thing about diplomacy is don't be too defensive about it. Secondly, as I said, talking to different people in the Pakistan army, like everybody, there are people with different views, but they're intent on one thing, everyone, avenging in some form or the other 1971. And that rankles in dealing with them. The present situation, as I see it, Imran Khan, the Prime Minister, I first met him in 1982 with Gavaskar and the Indian team when I was in Karachi. And what I was told by a Pakistani correspondent who was a good friend at that time, when I asked him, why does Imran bowl with so much fire against India? I didn't see it when he was playing England or West Indies. The answer was that Imran had said, this is 1982, whenever I play against India, I do not treat it as a game. I think of Kashmir and treat it as a jihad. That is the present political dispensation, and if this process goes through well, the army will see he's re-elected. Otherwise, he's set to fail. That is the political ambience. So what is happening is important. The other point is General Bajwa. Unlike other generals, he is very quiet. He doesn't talk very much, but his use of the ISI has been devastating. And he thinks pretty carefully, not pushing the politician to a corner. He plays the cards very quietly. If you see the comparison between him and Rahil Sharif, who was a motor mouth, and God save the Saudis, he's working with them. There is these differences. As you would have, say, between Hamid Gul and Durrani as heads of the ISI. But never forget their ultimate aim in their mind, institutionally as an army, is revenge for 1971 in whatever form they can take it, whenever they can take it. What is the circumstances we are functioning under? A disgraceful defeat for the Americans. I think worse than Vietnam, because there they left with some dignity and were left to deal with Vietnam, which is now one of their best friends. This one is hardcore Islamists who are not going to be their friends. And the very thought of someone who's not one of them, and you know what I mean, being the top of the house, is something they will resent. And this whole exercise, I think we must give credit. The ISI brilliantly executed. They had, carried out a careful survey, obviously, of the Afghan army's weaknesses, its unwillingness to fight, and its poor relations, poor leadership. That is what led to the fiasco. Added to that was Joe Biden. Now, I want to say about Joe Biden. You had before him Bush, Obama, and even Trump, all three India friendly. If you ask me about Biden, the answer is no. I will never forget during his last visit as vice president to Pakistan, he ran all the way not exactly run, but went in a government car all the way from Islamabad to Rawalpindi to call on General Kayani. It was a disgrace for a vice president to do that, but he did it. Now, when sizing up Biden, I always tell my over-enthusiastic friends with great love and affection from our India, for the US, be careful of this man. We could deal with Bush, we could deal with later on with Trump, which was a great feat. And hats off to Mr. Modi and the organizers of that great function in Texas. So I think these are basic factors. I do not expect really any thanks or from the president, but we are fortunate in many ways in dealing with the United States that we have a Secretary of State, a Secretary of the National Security Advisor, and the CIA chief. All three very India friendly. But if you ask me whether push comes to shove, Biden will say, I love you, India, and do anything for us, forget it. It's not going to happen. They will arm us, but charge us. And therefore, I firmly believe, stand firm with them at this time, despite our differences with the Russians on getting the S-400, more as a political point than anything else. But to be seen in the world as somebody standing on your feet, that is important. A lot of leftist opposition to the Quad, but what else do we do? You are dealing with China, which is a substantive power. And don't forget, Pakistan is the closest ally that China has anywhere in the world. Nowhere in the world has one country transferred to another designs for nuclear weapons and long-range missiles the way China has done for Pakistan. Anybody who studies the Pakistan missile and nuclear program, even the designs of their nuclear weapons, luckily they both had enriched uranium, went that way. So if you ask me what are the challenges we face, a not too friendly administration in the US, but a friendly Congress and officials. I think that with that we can manage as long as we manage our diplomacy carefully. Because as I see it, this is what has happened has charged up the Pakistanis, the army, and the ISI. They have actually see it as having first defeated the Soviet Union and now defeating the United States. Their morale is flying very high. And I do not expect them to be adventurous. Not Bajwa. He's not a Musharraf who experiments with exercises which don't work out. And we will have to face this challenge. About Haqqani, about this, as it is, the whole cabinet, 5 of them have been declared as international terrorists, led by no less than the Prime Minister, who was declared by the United Nations as a terrorist. So I think these are the things we have to play and pressurize. But also, I think the General, you left pointed out the difficult economic conditions. Now, I've made 5 visits to Afghanistan, met everyone from Karzai downwards. They appreciate India. That for 20 years we did nothing and asked nothing in return. We did it out and asked nothing in return. And we have to utilize that. And therefore, any people who say boycott them, don't talk to them, no. Find ways to be in touch with them. Because they will find, despite the Russian support, which is not going to be too strong, and the Chinese, the way they are going and the people they are appointing, the whole cabinet is a farce. They won't be able to run the country. So, General, is my time running over? No. So I think this is a fact we have to bear in mind. We are well placed diplomatically. You're going to have China put pressure on you on the border, but that's something we have been able to manage. And just remember one thing: last year's exercise proved we could stand up to the Chinese, to the world, which has not been the case before, though we have done well. So I think there is a perceptional change about India's capabilities. But as I said, I would still, with Afghanistan, think about continuing economic assistance. You know, the greatest impact came from midday meals for school children.
Sorry to interrupt,
We'll have to
Ambassador.
act.
If you want to wrap up
Thank
in a
you.
minute. No, go ahead.
Yeah, in a minute.
Sure.
In a minute. In a minute, faced with a challenge, we've dealt with stronger challenges. There are shortcomings, weaknesses with our adversaries. Frankly, the Russians are, pretty heated up about the way the Chinese are dominating everything. Putin has his pleasures. So playing also the Russian card, the Russian angle, has its advantages in defense and other terms. And I will close by saying that I expect infiltration to pick up after the winter season, because by then they would be prepared. And I'm sure we'll know how to deal with it. Thank you.